Welcome to councillors, officers and members of the public to this meeting of council, and very nice to see that we have an alderman present tonight. Could I remind you to switch your mobile phones to silent? There are members of the press and public attending this meeting virtually. Can I ask that those attending virtually switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting? The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. Can I remind councillors to ensure that those who are attending virtually can hear the proceedings, and for the recording to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you wait for the microphone and speak clearly into the microphone. Please remember that it is a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to councillors by their first name. When addressing council, please stand if you are able to do so. There is no fire alarm planned, therefore upon hearing a constant two-tone alarm, please leave the building via your nearest marked fire exit and make your way down the stairs to the nearest assembly point, which is the Shortstay car park. Lifts are not to be used. Please do not take time to pick up personal belongings and leave the building promptly. Please be aware that contents displayed on your iPad or laptop may be seen by others or members of the public attending the meeting. Therefore, please close down screens which display confidential information during the public part of meetings. Thank you. Apologies for that.
Yes, Chair, received apologies from Councillors Denton, Spear, Whitehead and Turton. Councillors Bullard and Warden will be joining the meeting virtually, Chair.
Item 2 to approve as the correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of September 2025. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Rutty and seconder Councillor Caroline Lever. Okay. All right. Can we all vote on that, please? Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 3, Chair's announcements. I'm getting a little bit fed up of saying this every full council meeting, but please can you do your boxfish training? I have been told there are over 50 people in the organisation who are at least 2 boxfishes behind. And actually, if you did the boxfish one, what we just said about laptop, I've had some laptops being open, is actually included in one of the latest boxfish trainings. So very important. Okay. I'll ask that. Okay. Replies to any questions submitted by the public and or to receive petitions under Part 4 Council Procedures Rules paragraphs 8 and 9 of the Constitution. We have none. Item 6, to continue motions of which notice has been submitted by members in accordance with Part 4 Council Procedure Rule, paragraph 11 of the Constitution. Item A, to consider the following notice of motion from Councillor Maskell. I'm sorry, you've just walked through the door. Do you want to, Councillor?
Okay, why don't we change our second motion?
Councillor Benson here.
The questions, what's the questions?
Oh, so just coming. He's on.
Right, yeah, okay, we'll go to the questions. So we'll go to 8B. To consider the following questions submitted by Councillor Rutty to the Chair of the Licensing and Community Safety Committee. You want me to? So, Councillor Rutty, you've received a written reply.
Yeah.
Is there a supplemental question?
The supplementary question is just if we could get this information on the council website.
Thank you. Item 8.
Hello. My answer.
Oh, sorry. York.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Ratty. I'll make sure I speak to the lead officer for community safety and or the comms team and try and get a couple of websites for you some information. Thank you.
So item 8C, to consider the following motions, following questions submitted by Councillor Rutty to the leader of the council. I believe that you're going to give an answer now, Councillor Hope.
Waiting to formally announce it. Thank you, Councillor Lutty, for notice of the question. Obviously, I'm aware, as all of us are, of the pressures on our hospitality sector across North Devon. The government's increase in national insurance contributions didn't help. Inflation has made it trading very challenging at the moment throughout the winter. There are, however, some reliefs available. For example, the retail, hospitality and leisure relief provides relief from business rates for businesses. And so for 890 businesses within Northern Devon have taken that so far. Total relief being 25.26, £3,433,777.36. So there is work being done there. Small business rate relief is also available, which provides 100% relief from business rates for those businesses that qualify. Obviously, the real answer will be to do something about national insurance contributions, do something about business rates, but unfortunately that's not within the realms of the council, as you know. North Devon Plus is a local authority owned company that both Councillor Crowes himself and Ken, as chief executive, are on, and this provides business support. This has provided free business support for many businesses, including those from the hospitality and the tourism sector as well. So if you do know of any particular industries, any particular hospitality businesses that are suffering, it might be an idea to point them in the way of North Devon Plus to see if there are any other avenues that they could take up on. As a council, we provide grants to assist in tidying up business shop fronts, which might help with bringing in trade in our towns as well. We're also currently giving grants to communities and organisations to hold cultural events. The council has also invested, as we know, in capital projects in both Barnsley and Ilfracombe town centres, with a view to making centres more vibrant and attractive. Because that's the key thing, isn't it? You get people in the evenings and keep them there. You make it attractive for them to come in for other things, but they're more likely to go for drink and have hospitality sector as well afterwards. Furthermore, Barnsley and Ilfracombe now enjoy the presence of street marshals that made the actual centre safer and more reassuring place to visit. Obviously, the council would welcome any ideas, initiatives any member would have, any residents have, move towards making our town centre even better. So I welcome your approach, but we are doing all we can. So we've got a supplementary question.
Councillor, do you have a supplementary question?
No,
Thank you. So we'll return to item 6A to consider the motion from Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I apologise for being late. The roadworks in Bolton are a little bit challenging. So I don't read my motion out, do I? No. I brought this motion to council. I think I've explained why I brought the motion to council. Apologies. Yeah, sorry. I brought this motion to council. I think one of the main things that came out of being involved in fostering is that carers, it's not about money, it's about being valued by the local authorities that they work for. And without these people, vulnerable children would be stuck in care homes, denied a chance of normal family life. Without these people, the bill for the care of these children would be crippling. So I would like us to take this opportunity to recognise what foster carers do and to recognise that their homes are a place of work, a care setting, and make them exempt from council tax in North Devon. And I also feel that we could give North Devon's cared for children the opportunity to enjoy the leisure facilities which we control. something that struck me when I was with these children was foster parents saying to me, these children don't get invited to birthday parties and they don't get invited to other people's houses. So they have limited opportunities to do things and rely on what their carers can afford. And I feel that we have an opportunity to share our council run facilities with them and perhaps create some sort of pass for children in care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anybody else would like to say anything? Councillor Peter Lever.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Maskell, for bringing this motion forward. I think quite often we forget about the absolutely vital work that foster carers do for our cared for children in North Devon and in Devon as a whole. And I think it was for that reason that the new administration at Devon County Council, when they came in, one of the first things they did was that they brought in a council tax reimbursement scheme on the Devon County Council element of council tax for people who foster through Devon foster care. And I think that's a laudable thing, and I think this is something that we ought to be moving towards. If it's all right with Councillor Maskell, what I'd like to suggest is that we take this forward to S&R committee, and what we do is so that we can have a sort of lasting legacy of this, being aware that we're only going to be around for another 2 or 3 years anyway, is to introduce a scheme through a council tax reduction scheme, which is properly consulted, and to do that through consultation with Devon County Council, so that it can cover all elements of council tax, not just the North Devon elements. And that perhaps I'd like to suggest to the leader that and to the chief executive that through their work with Team Devon, they can reach out to other district councils and the county to look at introducing something similar there, so that whatever shape we are in the future, we come from councils who recognise the role that foster carers play. That's the council tax element. On entry into pre-entry into council-owned recreation facilities, I think again, if this goes to S&R, we can look at the implications for facilities that are owned and run by the council. I'm aware that we are in negotiations with Parkwood Leisure, who operate some of our facilities, including the Tarka Leisure Centre in Barnstaple, to look at schemes to help care experienced young people visit those centres at a discount or for free. And I'm wondering if, again through S&R, we can expand that consultation out with Parkwood to include foster carers through Devon Foster Care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lever. Is there anyone else who wants to say anything? No, right. Councillor Lever, did you second the proposal?
Sorry, with those amendments that it goes to S&R, yes.
Yeah. Are you happy with that, Councillor Maskell? Okay, so all those in favour? Thank you.
Yeah, can I say, on a point of information, I just have,
Sorry, Councillor Fass, could you wait for the mic, please?
I just have a message from Sarah Wilson saying she's stuck in the traffic queue.
It's okay, she's
Oh,
here.
she's
Yeah,
And the same from Simon Maddox is here.
I don't think Councillor Maddox has made it yet, but and Councillor, sorry, there's a few
Simon's
people that are making their way
picked up
through.
this as well, and so they're stuck in traffic, so I'm not sure how long.
Yeah, yeah, that people will get here when they get here.
There's an accident on Ashford Street.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Okay, item, we're on to item. Yeah, item B. Unfortunately, Councillor Bell hasn't made it here yet, but we have to take it because we've got to get on with tonight's business, which is to consider the motion from Councillor Bell regarding making North Devon toilets stoma friendly. Councillor Peter Lever.
One of my proudest achievements for my company was to win Loo of the Year award back in sometime in the early 2000s. And so I speak from some experience of designing public toilets. The motion, I think, is laudable in its intentions to provide facilities for people who've got stoma bags to be able to change them in an emergency in public toilets. Unfortunately, public toilets are open to all sorts of abuse. There's antisocial behaviour, vandalism, drug taking. Sometimes they're used as places where people attempt suicide. So I think we've got to be careful about what facilities we put in to make sure that they don't make some of those antisocial behaviours or those harmful behaviours more likely to happen. And I think we've got to look seriously at which of our public toilets on our estate are suitable for this and which, quite frankly, aren't. So again, I'm putting more onto the agenda for strategy and resources, but I think this is something that if a report could come to S&R, perhaps with the environment team looking at which toilets are possible and at options for what we can do in those toilets and costs, and then we can consider it at S&R.
Councillor Hunt.
Yes, I'd like to.
Right, so we have proposed by Councillor Lever, seconded by Councillor Hunt. Before I take the vote, I would like to point out that actually we already have some toilets which are stoma friendly. The accessible toilet in Green Lane, both accessible toilets in Green Lanes have full length mirrors. So it's not something that we're 100% behind on. We are already part way there. I don't use very many more accessible toilets, so I can't tell you about the rest. But if we could take the vote, please. Sorry, Councillor Maskell, you wanted to say something?
Sorry, me again. I'd just like to say I fully support Councillor Bell's motion as somebody who was formerly a stoma support nurse. I think that it is important that we recognise the number of people who do live with stomas, and it's not always easy in a normal toilet. But as you say, there are a number of accessible toilets. It's very apt that actually today is World Toilet Day 2025. Who knew? And so I think that obviously back in March 21, £30 million of government funding was made available for Changing Places facilities. And here in North Devon, we successfully bid for 3 of those. One was at Croyd, one at Arlington Court, and the other one in Green Lanes. Is it Green Lanes?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it'd be nice to, on top of this motion, to actually commit to looking for further funding for additional Changing Places facilities around our communities. I don't know if and when more funding might be available, but it's something I think would be nice for the council to commit to. There are a lot of places. I know that Braunton is really difficult for disabled people. My friend's son is in a wheelchair and she can't take him out shopping in Braunton because if he needs the loo, there's nowhere suitable for him as someone with cerebral palsy. So yeah, I think that would be a nice addition if we could add that to the motion. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Maskell, can I assure you and all my colleagues that we are always looking for funding for schemes such as Changing Spaces. They're fantastic. One in Green Lanes is absolutely fantastic. I have used it on several occasions. I will do. The toilets I have visited. So, Councillor Hunt.
Say which hasn't been mentioned. Sorry, I thought I had a big enough voice. One thing I was going to say, which hasn't been mentioned here, is Asda has actually got a massive, big, really for those in, that's used a lot by Padfields as well. It's quite a very large room.
Yeah. Yes, Asda was the first Changing Place in North Devon. So we would love to see more. Thank you.
Under the Constitution, if the motion has been moved or seconded, then the vote is then taken without any further discussion to pass it to strategy and resources. But the points being picked up the points being mentioned by Councillor Maskell and Councillor Hunt can be picked up as part of the discussion of strategy and resource control.
So could I have all those in favour, please? Okay, against? Abstentions? Okay, that's carried, thank you. List items. Item 7, declarations of interest.
I've received them, Chair.
Item 8A is to consider the question submitted by Councillor Bell to the Leader of the Council. Councillor Clayton.
Sorry, is Graham here?
No, he's not.
Well, events, my dear boy, events, I mean, it's been superseded here, haven't we? Because there has been a company, Allied, have offered to take over. And all I can say is that we will monitor that very closely, and a big thank you to the company for stepping in, because not having a local pharmacy would be very damaging for many local communities across North Devon. So it is thanks to them, hopefully, that they will be able to step in to all those pharmacies that are under threat, and hopefully in the next few weeks that will be sorted. But we will monitor. We will. I think Councillor Bell has said that Council is willing to push all relevant agencies to ensure minimal disruption. Yes, we will do that. But let's just see and wait what actually occurs in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I think congratulations to Allied for stepping in.
Councillor Biederman.
Just a point of order, I guess, Chair. Sorry, Chair, right? Yeah, I was just a little bit. Must stick up for our MP sometimes, mustn't you? Especially when he's his boss. Don't know if I have to declare an interest as an employee, but you know, Ian was on this very, very early, and I think the wording where it says the MPs for North Devon and Torridge have been made aware of it. I think the MP actually in this case was in front of it, and certainly at a very early stage was on to that. So for the minutes, could that be recorded? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a question, so it's not really for discussion, but we're also pleased to report back that some of the pharmacies have actually already reopened, so that's really good. Thank you. Item 9, to agree the agenda between Part A and Part B, confidential restricted information. We have no Part B. No, we've done. We have to do those before we got here. Sorry, Councillor Crown. So we can move into Part A. Item 10, presentation from Landmark Theatres.
What's the flow?
Oh, that's the yeah, just the rest of it.
Good evening, everybody. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Jepson. I'm the unfeasibly tall creative director and CEO of Landmark Theatres. It's very good to be here. I and my colleagues appreciate the invitation. You are partners to the theatres. You are the owners of the buildings, and you are investors in our business. So it's very important that we should come and see you once a year and talk about what we've done and what we're going to be doing next, which is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to start with the key achievements of the last year. We're still a new organisation, and the things that we've done in the last year are very material, and they're material to our ability to continue both to develop our vision artistically, and also to increase the sustainability and the capacity within the organisation. So here we go. Well, we should go. Doesn't seem to work. That's not working. There you go. I can't run it. That's not me. What should I be doing? That one. So there we go. So the key achievements. So the first is that we've managed a process of separation from the commercial management who you previously related to Celador Worldwide. That happened at the beginning of this financial year. The second is on the back of that, we were able to fulfil our application to the Charity Commission for a charity number, which we gained in September of this year. Related to those two is the fact that we've just completed our first year as a charity, by which I mean the last full financial year was the first year that we adopted and implemented charitable articles. That's slightly complicated in a way because you become a charity when you say you're a charity and you behave as a charity, and then at a certain point you're accepted by the commissioners and you get your number. So all of that has now happened. In addition, and you can see some pretty pictures that relate to these achievements. You've got a gent with a guitar in the middle, and he's singing about his desire to commit suicide quite early on in Rent. We produced Rent in both places, and that was our first in-house production. Got uniformly very positive reviews, and actually was offered a transfer to London, which has been blocked by the original rights holders, who are holding out for another production, which still has not materialised. So maybe watch this space. Then to the left, you have a picture that was taken during the Welcome Weekender in Ilfracombe. The Welcome Weekender is one of our key investments, and you'll hear more about it later on, so I won't scoop my colleagues. But I want to celebrate the fact that we used a wristband methodology for getting people to pay a certain amount for the experience. So we used this approach because it's like a festival. We sold 300 of them, and then we sold another 300, and then we sold another 300. So we sold 1,000. There were 2,787 attendants across that weekend. As you all know, the overnight in Ilfracombe is 11,000. It's a significant achievement to get that level of engagement around the building, and it is something that we plan to build on. The quality of the week-long programme in both places, because obviously we work across Peterborough and North Devon, it's improved significantly, and I'm going to say a bit more about that as we move on through. But before that, some very practical stuff. We've completed an organisational structure. Now, well, that might sound a bit stupid. Why didn't you do that before you opened the thing? Well, the reason is that no one has done a group structure on a publicly invested organisation ever before. This is the first time. And there's a purpose in that, which is that I most definitely believe that the structure that we're developing and that we're proving works will be the only way that producing theatres will grow in the next 10 years. And that if we succeed, as we appear to be doing in North Devon and in Peterborough, one, we will be able to expand our organisation, which will increase the economy of scale and the reach artistically. But more importantly, and I know this to be a fact, it will be copied. So some of the process has not been without pain, but it now has a logic to it. And we have a series of leads. We have a lead across finance, obviously. We have a lead across customer and commercial and estates. We have a lead across talent and participation. We have a lead across new business and content, and we have a lead across, what have I forgotten? Blind. Programming. Thank you very much indeed. Some people, Councillor Cram, can read at a distance, which is actually very annoying. Oh no, it wasn't actually. It wasn't. He can't. Okay. Anyway, so we have each of those if you like pillars, and the tricky bit is to make sure that we've managed to have balance between the two places, and also that we have management connectivity on the ground. So, estates is in North Devon. Finance is in North Devon. Customer and commercial is across both places, but he lives in Peterborough. I live in North Devon. Talent and participation is, I live in South Devon. Talent and participation is in North Devon. And content and business development are in Peterborough. That's been actually, that sounds like that's quite obvious, but it's not necessarily obvious. It's quite difficult to achieve, and we've done it. I promised that we would deliver a structure which was both in touch with the places where we work and also had an ability to deliver scale and efficiency. You'll also notice that all of them have two jobs. They work very, very, very hard, and they spend a lot of time on trains, which to some extent is okay. And increasingly at the manager level, we're moving between the two places. And I wouldn't say that there isn't a certain amount of griping. There is. One place says that the other place gets more of this, that, or the other. It's like it's inevitable. But actually, it's getting to be less the case. And as we move around more, we consider ourselves to be in touch with the places where we work, but also we consider ourselves to be part of one unit. And I think that's very important. I'm going to hand over now to actually, am I going to hand over now? Let me see. I am. Finance, that's not me. No. I'm going to introduce you to Jenny Smale, who's recently joined us as Head of Finance, and she'll take you through the next slide, okay? And then you get me back, I'm afraid, and then more from my colleagues.
Thanks everyone. So I think last time we spoke in front of you was December last year, so I just want to give some updates of where we were then and where we are now. Better? Any better? Yeah, that's good. Okay, so it's my first time. Good.
Slightly odd. You have to feel like you're reading it. It's not entirely perfect. You feel like it's finished, but it'll work.
Okay. So we're proud to announce that this year was the first year that we've ended up in profit. So the part of that was due to the Celador separation that we achieved sort of April this year. So we did have a loss, and then that brought us into profit. But this year coming, March 36th, we look to be in profit again, which is really kind of good news and a lot of hard work from the team, especially as earlier we were referencing sort of the employers' NI and national minimum wage impacts, which has a lot, sort of 50% of our staff are affected by that. Continued kind of lean in, which means that we're kind of really closely observing all of our costs and making sort of, good decisions on that wherever we can. Recent negotiations on a maintenance contract is saving us 300k over the next 3 years, 27 to 30. Which is great for us, and we're continuing to assess any automation and centralisation sort of savings that we can make across the two locations. Next, driving efficiency and diversifying income. So as we will go through later, the sources of income that we're offering is helping us to improve our P&L as well. So we've got Panto in other areas, week-long events and commercial hires of venues, and always looking for new sort of opportunities. Charitable status, as Paul said, we achieved that in September 25. It's great for also getting us more funding opportunities, but also savings like the business rates and IT across our two locations. We're in the concluding stage of our first audit, which with Sayer Vincent, and pleased to say that all their reports are good. They found all our processes working, so we're worked really closely with them and we'll be reporting that soon. We'll have a citing material uncertainty just to our negative balance sheet, which is a legacy that we've kind of bought on and we're working to improve. And that's kind of come to the last point, repairing our balance sheet. So we've just gone through a long range plan process, which has been my first sort of task in this role. I'm pleased to say end of 2030, we expect that to be back sort of in the black. So we've got an upward trajectory, still lots of work to do. Yes, and just looking forward to kind of seeing all that hard work come into fruition. Thank you.
Lift it back up again to the unfeasibly tall position. Let's move it on. Right. So we've made a significant effort to diversify income, and I think that that doesn't necessarily that hasn't necessarily made everybody immediately love us, but I'm sorry, we're doing it, and what that means is that we need to be very careful about any areas where we're loss making, particularly within F&B. And we have to be much more effective in developing ancillary use for our space. So we have events officers now in both places. And in Peterborough, as you'd expect, the return, the initial return is quicker and better. But we're already 20k income within the current financial year in North Devon. There's a lot more we can do, and we're very confident that we can do it. We are actively fundraising. We've been pushing donations. We've got a pretty punchy target for the year. It's about 30,000 across both places. We're at 10 at the moment, which sounds a bit dodgy, but actually we've got Christmas in both places, and we're announcing our charitable status for the first time. So I'm comfortable we'll get between 20, we'll get the right side of 20 to 30. We may be shy of the target, but targets are not always there to be beaten. They're also there to push an organisation, and we have not. We don't have a fundraising tradition, so we're going for it. Similarly, we have targets against corporate sponsorship, and we are looking to improve the way in which we use our spaces, and particularly Ilfracombe. I think that we know that there's significant possibility for commercial activity in Ilfracombe, which is underdeveloped. We also know that we need to improve the experience within the buildings. It's been virtually impossible for us to do that so far. I had to push the organisation towards profitability. It's very, very important. And I had to push down costs wherever possible. But that is no longer as much of an imperative. And so we can be more organised about the way we contribute to maintenance. We have a new group maintenance manager across both places, Russell Jeans, and we will do some very simple things first, like a process of refurbishing seats, particularly in the Landmark. We'll try and get 50 of those done per quarter. We've got air handling issues to sort out at the Queen's. We've got various other remedial works which are not they don't create compliance issues, but we're going to do them, and we'll do that in the course of the next year. So the other new stuff that we've got is we've started a membership scheme in both places, and I'm pleased to say that the initial responses to that membership scheme are quite they're positive. And we've also started to explore the possibility of ancillary income through management partnership. And the first thing that we can use for management partnership is the pantomime business. So we did an off-site pantomime at Beam. It was a one-off in the last financial year. One-offs aren't great because it's the first year you don't do that well, but even so, we netted off about 30k against that. So we're now actively seeking additional pantomime. We'll have our own pantomime in North Devon and a developed offer in another place. you should be returning an increasing amount of money, even in a relatively small theatre. You should get to, with the theatre tax relief, you should get to 100,000 net. So these are quite, these are quite decent sums. So I suppose I want everyone in this room to know that that I take two parts of the job very seriously. I take the artistic part very seriously. So you've seen I've gone out with a big main house new musical. I also take the need for pragmatism financially, as well as financial controls, seriously. And I believe our financial control now is excellent. I think that's been an achievement of the last 18 months, and it shouldn't be underestimated. When I first took over the business, there were no management accounts. I now have full forecasting, and it's detailed for 3 years. Not to say it's not going to change, but it exists. I'm going to talk next about the programme, because that's one part of what we're most here for, and the other part is what you're going to hear from my colleagues towards the end of the presentation. So, the most important thing about the structure is, on the one hand, economy of scale, and also, if you like, a certain level of muscle. On a sold out week at the New in Peterborough, we can take 360,000 quid. That is attractive to producers. Now, it's also the case that the New happens to be the most derelict of all the theatres, so nothing in life is easy. However, the week-long programme in the New has been something that my team has been able to use to drive a steady week-long programme at the Queen's. And the Queen's week-long programme is now of quality. I find it is acceptable, and I will continue to push it, and I will get it as good as I can get it, and it will continue to get better. Because what you need is steady week-long product, particularly in theatre, because you need to be able to use that to grow your database. Otherwise, your database becomes, it shrinks, or it stiffens. So, for instance, at the moment, you've got Shawshank on there. I'm sitting on 30K on Shawshank in Peterborough. I'm sitting on 4K on Shawshank here. That is not as it should be. I should be sitting on 10 to 15 here, 10 perhaps, and 30 there. It's a much easier demographic, don't get me wrong. Much, much easier in Peterborough. And I will get that. The changes in audience profile are important, and particularly like for like in North Devon. So we had Blood Brothers back. It took 80, I think, and last time it was 40. We just had The Woman in Black in for the first time. We crossed 50. It was in a very bad week. It was a holiday week. They were happy. PW's work will now come to the Queen's regularly. This is very, very, very important. And it's hard fought for. The centralisation of the marketing department is supported because it creates synergies. It means the investment is much more efficient. It means that the marketing of the shows is known in both places. That makes it much easier to persuade people to programme both. So I'm really pleased about this because I thought it would work. I didn't know, but I thought it would, and it is working. Okay, I'm going to hand over now. I'm going to hand over to Ben.
Thanks. Is that good? Sound all right? Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you very much. Yes, so my name's Ben. I'm the head of talent and participation for Landmark Theatres. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just talking a little bit about the programme that we deliver, which is concerned with participation, co-creation, artist development, and generally engaging with communities from across North Devon. I will circle back quickly to the Welcome Weekend, which Paul spoke about briefly. It's our second year of delivery. It's programmed and led brilliantly by my colleague Kaz Turner, who's going to talk a little bit later on in this presentation. So back in September, we delivered a 3-day programme of events that included 2 pieces of outdoor cinema. One of those screenings was actually changed very last minute to be projected onto a screen, to being projected onto the building itself because of the high wind speed. We also presented 5 family shows that took place all around the building, outdoors, 7 shows made by local or sub-regional artists, including new writing, immersive dance, comedy, outdoor, site-specific, 1 live piece of music, which is actually like a brilliant Bhangra group, 2 instances of large to-go community dance, and a carousel of 8 different participatory workshops, anything from potion making to circus skills. As Paul said, we offered all of that for £5, and wristbands were free for under 16-year-olds. The idea really being about sort of driving access to cultural provision that we were making available. And we were really, really pleased with how that programme has kind of grown in terms of its creativity, its kind of operational sort of stability, and indeed how we're finding audiences coming to that, engaging with it, and then also returning to the programme as well. So you might remember from our last presentation, we had a very high number of first-time attenders. This time around, we had about 20% first-time attenders to the Welcome Weekender, which is a lot less than last time. It's probably about 30% less than last time round. We feel quite good about that actually, because it tells us that people are sort of starting to kind of come back to the programme and have recognised it and are coming back. The second highest audience group for the Welcome Weekender were occasional visitors to cultural programmes. So again, it shows us that it's continuing to drive first-time access and continuing to give people access to performing arts who otherwise wouldn't be engaging with it. Our audience for the Welcome Weekend, the 70% were from North Devon and 30% were from, in my notes it says the rest of the world, but that's a combination of Devon and the wider country. So we felt quite good about that combination, because that tells us that, you know, our ambition for the programme was always that it was hyper-local, that it was for the people of our community, and they're really for them first and foremost. But it also tells us that even with it taking place in September, we're still able to engage a significant amount of sort of tourist activity that can give us a bit of sort of growth potential within that context. But again, the most important thing is the sort of experience of people when they come to visit. So I just wanted to share some of the audience reaction with you. One family who attended said it's been lovely to see so many people coming along and joining in with all that has been on offer. Would like to say a massive thanks and well done to all involved for all your hard work in making such a fantastic weekend. I think that was directed at you, Kaz. Another person said, this was brilliant today, excellent setup, and Nick Cope was great. If anyone knows Nick Cope, he's a CBBC children's musician who I'm a massive fan of personally. And sadly for me, he left the Welcome Weekender being Kaz's friend and not mine, which was disappointing. Another person said, both my boys had the best weekend. Please keep up the amazing work. We hope to see it back again next year. And my favourite piece of feedback that we got was, the Welcome Weekender really is a breath of fresh air to Ilfracombe. I would encourage all to take a look. There really is something for everyone. In our sort of programme more broadly, we've continued to invest our energy and attention and effort in children, young people and early career professionals within our communities, whilst also developing our sort of skills and strategy in the context of social inclusion and health benefit as well, in line with our charitable status and our kind of emerging strategy. So just to give you like a bit of a snapshot of what we've done so far this year. So far this year, 547 children and young people have performed on our stages. That's children and young people who performed on our stages directly as a result of our activity. Doesn't take into account sort of visiting work and other youth theatres who use our venues. We've delivered 452 hours of training and work experience for young people with a focus on career development and employability in our communities. Similarly, we previously had a relationship with the virtual school and had ring-fenced work experience placements for young people in care. We've offered 190 sessions of mentorship, career development and creative support for early career artists from North Devon and further afield. So that's benefited around 170 freelancers or creatives who are sort of at the start of their career or developing a career here in North Devon in the performing arts. We've delivered over 600 workshops in drama, dance, musical theatre, circus, acrobatics. With the kind support of Councillor Crabb, we've also embarked on a programme of technical theatre skills training as well. The idea behind that is to address the skills shortage, both locally and nationally. And finally, in partnership with Essex Dance and the National Theatre, we've enabled 920 children and young people to see high quality dance or theatre either in their schools or within walking distance from their schools. And we've enabled them to do that for either free, not paying, or for £1. Particularly proud that one of our partners for the National Theatre School Tour this time around was the Marlin School, which many of you will know is a provider for children and young people with social, emotional and mental health needs. So just to speak into a couple of sort of programme highlights from across the year, our Make the Move programme, which is a long-standing youth theatre offer, giving dance, drama, musical theatre classes. That benefits around 120 young people on an annual basis and continues to grow in strength and creativity. Personal highlight for me was watching the production of Madagascar this year, which was really creative, really inventive. Likewise, it's been really amazing to see many of the young people who participate in that programme move on to gain professional employment with us as an organisation, or indeed to join our sort of artist development programmes and start to make new work here. Similarly, the sort of list of alumni who've been on Make the Move programme and who are now training at high-profile conservatoires or work in the industry continues to grow. And oftentimes they'll come back with touring shows and they'll grab Kaz for a cup of tea. Likewise, our Speak Up programme, which has been a 3-year participation project with schools across North Devon, culminated this year with our Speak Up celebration, which took place in June. 70 young people from schools across North Devon stood on our stages. They presented work that they co-created with professional artists about issues that they cared about in their local community. I was most struck by young people from Ilfracombe Academy who performed these really beautiful and heartbreaking songs, talking about issues of substance misuse, of dilapidation, of the things that are kind of worrying them in their communities. And that programme was really designed to sort of give young people confidence, wellbeing support, and also the skills to participate in local decision making. And we felt really proud of the work that we did in that context. A month after that took place, a young person called Josh from North Devon went to the National Theatre as part of a national symposium event and stood on the Olivier stage and presented a 10-minute monologue about North Devon, about our assets, about our environments, about how some of those environments were at risk. And my personal opinion is that he did us all really, really proud that day, representing our community on a national scale. One last thing that I'll tell you about from the programme is we've developed a new summer school offer called the Landmarkers. So over a week in August, 44 young people joined us at the Queen's Theatre for an intensive week, developing a brand new piece of musical theatre, adapted by Paul from A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's called Bottom's Dream, sort of a jukebox musical set in a wellness retreat in North Devon. It was really fun, really engaging, a really high quality offer that we intend to continue. We did some analysis of that. 100% of the participants who took part in that reported to wanting to do it again next year. 100% of the participants reported to having made a new friend across that week. 100% of parents who we surveyed said that they would sign their child up again next year. 73% of parents said they noticed an increase in their child's confidence over the course of the week, and 100% of our respondents rated us 5 out of 5 for the quality of the programme. And again, a piece of feedback that I was really proud of that was a young person saying, I never thought I'd ever do anything like this before. Of a personal highlight was at the end of the week, Paul came and spoke to some of the young people to sort of thank them for being a part of it, tell them a little bit more about the theatre. And as he left, one of the young people whispered to another, was that William Shakespeare? Which we all found really charming and really amusing. So that's just a small flavour of some of the work that we're doing, but that's really informing our thinking and our sort of longer term programming strategy. in particular around the Landmark Theatre. So I'm going to hand over to Kaz to give you a bit more detail about that.
Thank you. Excellent. Hello, everybody. My name's Kaz and I've lived in Ilfracombe for 60 years, and I've been working with and for the Landmark Theatre for 25 of those. So I'm quite familiar with all the changes and transformations that it's been through. We have a vision and an ambition for the Landmark, and that's been brought about by looking at some of the successes that we've had within our participation programme and the Welcome Weekender. We've come to realise that we cannot operate the Landmark purely by programme, in its sense of looking at a formula of saying this venue needs a drama, it needs some music, it needs some dance. It's only going to be successful if we look at people and place as well as the programme. It's a unique venue, it sits in a unique community. And we have seen that with the Welcome Weekender, where we've had young people dancing Bhangra with live music, watching projections on our buildings, while having vertical dance and site-specific theatre. It's brought together people of all ages and from all backgrounds, and we're all very conscious of the diversity of our community. We know that people in Ilfracombe are sometimes disadvantaged, either economically, socially, or demographically because of where we are and transport. And it's our vision to really make arts for all. And the only way that we can do that is by working with our community and listening. And the last 18 months or so have been really transformative from what I've seen and what I've listened to. We have seen groups of people like the Poverty Truth Commission, the Ilfracombe Culture Club, the Wellbeing Societies, all coming together and sharing ideas with a really open heart as to how we can work together. So part of our vision is to build on that. Where we might have a programme or a production, we are looking to surround that with things that are free, that are open access, that we go across all art forms, that we embrace visual arts, that we embrace workshops, that we embrace film, photography, and we come together to curate a programme for the Landmark rather than producing an artistic programme. It has to be delivered locally. We have to listen to local people, we have to be open to ideas, and we have to work in partnership. We've done that very successfully with Exmoor National Park. We are working with people from the Culture Club locally, making giant lanterns. But we are open to that. So for us, we wanted to be a community hub. We've always had children and young people at the heart, as long as I've been there, because that's what I do primarily, is work and produce young people to actually improve their confidence and their sense of feeling and safe space within our venues. It's unique. We're in a unique community, and I'm very proud of it. And I want it to succeed. And I really want it to be the heart of the creative and artistic community of Ilfracombe. And that's our vision, that's our ambition, that's what we're aiming for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was most informative. If just invite Paul just to quickly wrap up.
So we've spoken for far too long, which is your fault for allowing us to speak at all. And you'll ban us again until next year. I think there might not be time for questions because you'll have other things to do, but we are available for your questions is what I want to say. Okay. So if they don't get answered today or asked today, I don't know how we're going to do that, but
I think it would be easier if people submit questions that we can forward to the to Landmark.
I wanted to say something very, very briefly.
Sorry, Councillor Crabbe, you wanted to say something. Is it brief?
What I'll probably do is speak to Paul, and it's about programming at the theatre and a couple of things. And I'm delighted that there's 50 new seats going in. Have you seen it?
Fantastic.
50 a quarter.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to check the name of the lady, the finance head that presented, because on the website it's a Victoria Yates and you don't look like Victoria Yates. And I'm the bearer of good and bad news. Well, the good news is I've saved £39. The bad news is John Lydon was at Queen's Theatre tonight. Fantastic. Thank you very much for everything you're doing. I think it's wonderful. Please continue.
If anyone else has any questions, sorry, Councillor Jones can be very, very, very quick.
Thank you so much for the brief presentation. Just a very quick point is that what you shared to us is fantastic, and you're obviously doing incredible things. The council makes a significant contribution and also has supported you significantly in projects. And devolution is coming. And I just want to flag that we're going to all try and do what we can to protect such an important resource, and that you guys are putting a team together to think about what a future without us supporting you might look like, so that you can carry on your great work.
Oh, okay, if anybody else has any questions that they would like to be taken to the Landmark Theatres, if you can let Bev know, and John and SJ will take them at their regular meetings. Thank you. Okay, on to item 11. I'd like to invite Kurt Hinsop to tell us about the proposed merger of Petrock with Exeter College.
Which one? You can tell us.
I'm far too short to be standing behind that lectern, and probably it's the teacher in me anyway. I just wanted to say, if you were to come to the college after January the 5th coming up, it's very likely that at the front side you'll see North Devon College. We've been busy. This last 6 months or so, we've been very busy. We've been working on a merger with Exeter College, and the merger is proposed as Exeter and North Devon College Group. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that work we've been doing, what's likely to happen, why we're doing it, and what you can expect from that merger proposal. We're nearly there. First of all, though, I should just start to talk a little bit about what we've been doing in the last 15 months, I suppose, since I arrived here. I came here as interim principal and CEO, which I am here at Petrock. I came in August, just over a year ago now. There were financial problems, as you probably well know, and they've been embedded for some time. And there were quality issues. In fact, the outcomes for students here were in the lowest 5% of outcomes in the country for an FE college. So they were at the very bottom of the table. In fact, they were actually the worst in England. So they were not great. The community does not deserve a college like that. So it really was important for us to get that resolved pretty quickly. And I'm really proud to say that the team here are amazing. A little bit of direction and support, they're a great quality team. And in 12 months, they were able to turn those achievement rates around to be in the top half of the country in 1 year. That's unheard of in further education. So you've got a great team of people here. It really is. It's not about the people. It never was. Financially, we're now in good financial health. That's a really big change from being in a deficit position last year of about nearly £1 million a year ago. This year we ended with a surplus of 700,000.
So we're in a great place. That puts us into what they call good financial health status for the DFE. So it's a college that's healthy. We put 6% of our income back into our capital resources, and that's been really evident across the college group of all the activities we've done and been able to do this year at improving our facilities, our computers, right down to every single teacher having a new laptop. If you haven't got the right tools, you can't do a good job. So making sure the basics were right was really all we did. We're able to put a 4% pay rise in for staff this year because they hadn't had a pay rise for a long time and they were underpaid. So really proud of being able to do that, and they'll get that in this just before Christmas actually, and right back dated till August. So we're looking forward to that. And we've been able to add extra increments to bring them closer to the teachers' pay of school teachers, which is really important, of course. So that's where we've been in this last 12 months, and that put us into a place where we were ready for merger. Because the last thing we want to do is go into a merger position on the back foot as the poor performing college, because actually what you do spend the first year just trying to fix everything. So we're in a place now where we're a strong college working with Exeter, who's an outstanding college, good financially and great outcomes. So what is the vision for the group and why are we doing it? Well, really it was just to create the best place-based college group in England, which works for the students, staff, community and businesses. It's really simple. And in doing that, we wanted outstanding sixth form provision at North Devon and in Exeter. So it's not about shrinking the provision here in North Devon. It's about improving it, increasing it actually. And we really want that coordinated approach for our apprenticeship provision, for the adult education we deliver, for our higher education, and for importantly our SEND provision. And if we can have a joined up provision across Devon, then that gives us a great place to start. When we approach an employer, it's one college saying this is what we can offer you, not two colleges fighting out for what we can do for an employer. That was never a good idea. And ultimately, why merge now? Well, it just comes down to these basic points of, I think, all these things aside, and you'll see them balancing up their financial resilience, our regional skills strategy, we want bigger influence and scale, economies of scale, all of those things are really important. But fundamentally for me, you deserve a great college in North Devon, and it's not good enough not to have one. So that was really fundamentally, all those things aside, that's what we need to deliver for you. And that's just a list of all of the things that are coming up that colleges have to deal with in this next 18 months. These are the government initiatives, these are the policies, these are the changes that are happening, and therefore the team of people you need to be able to deliver on that. A bigger college group certainly can enable that. So being able to deal with all of those things in this next 2 to 3 years as they come online, really importantly. So what does that give us? Well, it gives us, if you talk to John Laramie, who's going to be the new CEO and principal, and he's the CEO and principal, as you probably know, for Exeter College, and he will be the principal and CEO. I leave, all things going to plan, on the 4th of January is my last day here. It'll be a place-based, coast-to-coast college group, ultimately. And I would hope in the next 5 to 10 years, in fact, it gets even bigger, because it's pretty clear to me that in England that there'll be bigger and bigger colleges that serve a population base. And to me, this is the starting of that for the Devon region. It's certainly happened in Cornwall, it's happened in London, it's happened in many places around England, and it certainly creates great benefits over time. So the new college group, as far as what it will look like, it makes us one of the biggest college groups in England. It will certainly have one of the biggest 16 to 18 populations, probably second or third biggest. Some 10,000 16 to 18s year-olds will be across the Devon and the two colleges. It will have one of the largest apprenticeship provisions in England, very large, more than 3,000, probably 3,500 apprentices between in the Devon region that the college group will be responsible for and delivering for from employers. An income level of over 100 million. Now that's really important. Colleges, once they bridge that 100 million gap and get into the 100, 125, 145 million, so these really big college groups, incredible capacity and capability. I'll give you some examples of that. I was in Capital City College Group in London, 145 million, 11 sites, 35,000 students every year. An employer came to us and said, look, we want to do wind farm operations. We need it done in 3 months. We need you to put up £250,000 worth of equipment into your buildings, but we need it done in 3 months. Otherwise, we're walking away, we'll go somewhere else. College of 145 million, made the decision overnight. Literally made the decision overnight. That was not even 5% of my total capital budget for the year. Easy decision to make. If that was Petrock right now, I would have to say, no, really sorry. That's more than we can afford. We're not capable of delivering on that. But a big college group can make those decisions quickly, be dynamic, and deliver for what the opportunities that bring. So certainly, I think those opportunities are coming. And certainly, as you probably know, you've probably heard the government talking about technical institutes and technical colleges. The first ones are construction technical colleges, and they've just been launched. 8 or 9 of them across the country, in fact 10, been launched. And guess where there's one? Right here. It's in Exeter. And as soon as we merge, we're part of that CTEC. So there's great opportunities coming and more to be had. And certainly this is just one example of one. We had a public consultation, which I think probably many of you actually contributed to. And I know certainly 300 people contributed to across all of our different stakeholder groups, mostly students and parents, but across all of the stakeholder groups, overwhelmingly positive about merger. Some looking at the numbers of that 300, it was something like about 67%, 2/3 of people said it's a great thing. We really want that to happen, very positive. About another 20, just over 20% said not sure, on the fence, and about sort of 1 in 10 said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Overwhelmingly, it was very positive. And as far as merger consultations for colleges, that's probably twice as good as I've ever seen. So there's a big appetite for this, and perhaps there is in the room too. But that's great from a stakeholder point of view. I think people are really on board. That means we can really make some progress quickly. So what happens next? We're at 46-day countdown. 46 days until the merger date, proposed merger date. So where are we on that? Well, the proposed merger date is the 5th of January, when we plan to do the merger. And we've got one more hurdle to cross, and that's both of our boards have already determined at this point that merging is a good idea, and they voted to merge. So we've launched that internally and told everybody that it's happening. We've been doing integration plans for the last 6 months, working very closely together, and we've deemed it a merger of friends. That's meant that we can work really closely together as we integrate, because colleges, when they merge, if they do it badly, the first year, financial decline, outcome for learners decline. So we're going to prevent that by doing lots of integration work now to make sure that doesn't happen in our merger, and that we actually bounce upwards and not down. So the next hurdle and the final hurdle for us is the beginning of December, around about the 9th for us, and then a couple of days later for Exeter College, where the boards will ratify that final decision. It's just dependent on the final bits and pieces going through. I think yesterday, DFE approved, because we are now public sector, we can't have loans with banks. So we do have some loans with banks. They have to transfer over technically into the DFE. So that had to be approved. It happened yesterday. So DFE approved those. That was our final significant hurdle. Now really just board ratification early December, and it's all go. So very positive. We're nearly there. And I believe, like I say, that will happen and will happen on time. So the 10-year vision, it really is to create a powerhouse for the region, meeting the needs of the future, like Flow and all the other opportunities that come. So thank you very much for having me tonight. I hope I've brought to you a little bit of information about what's happening. I think it's really exciting for the region. I hope that you're excited about it too. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I can see Councillor Beedman.
Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, obviously didn't have a lot of time, but quite interested to know what it will mean for the young people of North Devon, because lots of mergers and things. I mean, currently we see hundreds and hundreds of young people taking off for Exeter first thing in the morning on a cramped train because they haven't got the courses here in North Devon. So will there be more courses provided in North Devon? See people travelling in the opposite direction from Exeter into Petrock. Will it mean more courses for young people? Will it mean, I mean, I remember speaking to I used to catch a train myself to County Hall, but can't get on it anymore, so I'm back to the car. But the, I remember talking to a young person going to Exeter, and they told me that they would, I forget exactly, it was a science of some sort, can't do it at Petrock, and so that means I have to do my maths and whatever the other subject was at Exeter. So is there a possibility of splitting it? So if there was a specific course like science in Exeter, but they could still do maths and English at Petrock here, is that going to allow them, not to have to travel all the time? So there's sort of crossover like that. Thank you.
You hit the nail on the head. How do we stop the exodus of students having to travel an hour and a half at least, some of them 2 hours one way, and then 2 hours to get home? It's not all. I do understand if you want a bit of the city life and you want to get out of your comfort zone, you really, really want to push yourself. There are a small number of people who that's a great idea. And I think that they should do that. They should take that journey and do that. But most of them shouldn't. Most of them are going there for the wrong reason. They're going there because it's better. The quality is better, no doubt, has been better. They're also going there because sometimes they think the courses aren't here, we don't deliver them. And what we've worked really hard on is mirroring in this site all of the colleges that are run in Exeter. So there's very little difference actually. There's a very small number, like some modern foreign languages, perhaps, that are run there as A levels that we don't do here. So there is a very small number, but that's a handful. So most of the courses are delivered here. If they aren't, we intend to extend them, expand them. So there's around just over 2,216 to 18s come to the site every year for their education. So we need to take that back up to 3,000. There was 3,000 10 years ago. So that stops the exodus down to Exeter College for the wrong reasons. They're completely full. They can't take any more students. In fact, they can't support their own population of the Exeter area and city when the students are coming from here. So absolutely making sure that the students stay here, the quality is at the level it needs to be, and it won't make a difference whether you study here in North Devon or whether you study at Exeter. The same quality, same programs are available. So that's the intention, exactly that. Certainly not to shrink the provision here.
Councillor Caroline Lever.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Kurt. And I'm reminded of a conversation that I had with John Laramie about 18 months ago, and possibly you a bit more recently than that, about exactly this merger, having seen a map of where the students who go to Exeter College, where they come from, and he was crying out for extra space at that point. So I'm thrilled to bits about this. Now, and as a parent of 3 kids who've been some to Petrock, some to Exeter College, I know it stopped. No, it's back again. I know exactly what you mean. The 6:20 train is not a fun prospect for anyone, let alone a teenager. But I'm actually wondering, and I don't know if you're in a position to answer this or not, but I'm thinking that up here in North Devon, we've got some pretty special and world-class natural resources. And I'm wondering whether Exeter College is going to be able to actually expand what they do to take advantage of what we've got up here, particularly around the coastlines and the biosphere and, opportunities for green energy generation and clean industries. I don't know if you're able to answer that or not, but thank you so much for all that you've done. Thank you. And we shall miss you.
Thank you. I can answer it actually, because I think that example I gave of Enfield College in London in the expansion into wind farm operations. And that seems odd, doesn't it? In Enfield in London, there's not many wind farms there. So the thing about wind farm operations is that once you're trained, it's like the oil industry. You go away for 2 weeks, back for 2 weeks. You can live anywhere. So it brought engineering, if you like, back to the heart of Enfield and London, which was always a big engineering area. Very similar in lots of ways to here with that engineering core and background. So back to what you said about, so what is the opportunity? Can we do things that are very localized and very special? And having that much bigger capital capacity, funding capacity means absolutely. You can do things that may be not so viable for a small college like this, suddenly for a large college become very doable. So we do animal care here. Animal centre, we have a brand new animal centre. It's thriving. It's great, especially for people who are at level 1, but you can go right through up into degree level. Now, that's very special. It's local. They're not going to run it ever in Exeter, actually, and it's the perfect location for it. So if you do animal care, you'll only do it in Devon here, or perhaps South Devon College where they run it too, but that's unique to here. If you do dentistry, you're only going to do it in Exeter, because if you do dentistry, there's no chance that we could set up here and have enough students to run a provision. So allowing that specialisation in a small number of areas is very doable. So very exciting opportunities for wind operations coming into the future, the flow, and certainly you mentioned the biosphere. We're certainly not doing enough in that area. I've recognised that horticulture is not an area that we work in at all, and you've got to look around and say, well, I think we probably should be.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. I'm only going to be quick because Councillor Biederman asked my question. But I just want to say, as an Ilfracombe councillor, thank you for confirming that there are going to be a really good range of courses, parity with Exeter, because I've been really concerned about kids from Ilfracombe who have even longer to travel than kids from Barnstaple. Not only the long train journey, but getting to Barnstaple in the first place. And it has been a real concern because we just don't want disadvantage to be perpetuated. So I am really pleased to hear that this is a great opportunity for North Devon and for North Devon's kids. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bushell.
Thank you. I'm not going to touch upon the deafening silence about Petrock's sister site, which is probably intentional there. What I'm going to ask firstly is, will the merger allow greater ties with the universities, more level? I believe that you've done sort of the first year and second year of degrees on site here, and the brain drain is quite worrying for our area. Are we going to be able to offer more degree level qualifications, even if the final year has to be done in a university? Are there going to be additional travel subsidies so there's no financial barrier if somebody did want to be on a course in Exeter? I myself went to Exeter College and used the train from Kingsnipton station each morning. It is tough, but at that point they had the course in music technology and sound recording that nobody else was doing. And the last worrying thing, which I'm sure everybody is worrying about, is will there be job cuts associated within the current staff that's here? I know that there are probably going to be new posts, but are people going to get laid off because you no longer have a role for them? Thank you.
Okay, I'll make sure I pick up all of those, but if I miss anything, please just jog me along. So I'll start with the HE, higher education. Colleges have moved more and more into higher education, but we've been less and less successful. This college, we've had to heavily reduce in the last 12 months since I've been here, the HE provision, because there were courses of 1 and 2 that were typical. It wasn't an unusual case. That was normalised to the point where one of the reasons we were in such financial pickle was because of that. So they were running and continue to run unviable provision that, there's never going to be an opportunity to run a course of 1 or 2 with a teacher. The numbers don't work. It's £9,000 a year for a student. That's not what sort of teacher gets paid. So those sorts of things and opportunities for HE, yes, there are opportunities, but in this college alone, the numbers of people who have wanted to do HE have dropped by a third. So even though we may put it on and may offer it, there isn't sufficient people that are willing to come into the college. They have many different ways of learning now. Many go online. Many do online programs through HE. And to be honest, it's a compromise. It's a compromise that people would say, you know what, this is worth the compromise because I can stay in my location and get a really great HE program, and I can do it with the kids still in the back room. I don't have to travel a long way to get to a location and sit with a teacher. So there are many reasons why adults are choosing that. So I'm not sure that you would see significant changes to the HE provision here as it increases, because there simply isn't the volumes coming through to justify it. However, having the roots to
It's studied by the Open University.
there you go. And it's with the technology, it's even better than it ever was. So, you know, we shouldn't be trying to compete with that. What we should be doing is making sure that we work with that provision. There will be opportunities for some HE provisions or higher education, and that unified approach across Devon for Exeter and ourselves in that will be beneficial. So I wouldn't suggest there's more in colleges. We are operating more and more at level 4 and 5 rather than 6. So 6 being degree level, 4, 5 is the missing gap, if you like. They often talk about the missing middle. Those people who did the higher qualifications after doing their apprenticeship are the ones we should focus a bit more on. That's where the higher earners come from. That's where the potential comes from for higher earning capacity. So certainly I think colleges are going to operate in that space a lot more. And the government's initiatives are all around that too. They call them micro-credentials, where you can do a chunk of HE learning, a small amount, 20 odd hours or 30 hours, and build those blocks up to a degree over time. I think that's probably what we'll see rather than larger programs in HE. So that's on the HE front. I think you asked about job cuts, because that's always a big consideration for people. And certainly when you've got colleges that our sites are this far apart, you know, over an hour away from each other, you need to have significant localised provision. So John Laramie's already said that it's really important we have the local management team, the local facilities here. And there is some, of course, economies of scale. And over time, in colleges, typically over maybe 1 or 2 years, look at the corporate services, the back office services, to say, how can we bring that together? How can we get better economies of scale? It's my experience from doing that actually you can often do much of it through natural attrition. So, you know, typically in a college, between 10 and 15% of those staff leave each year. So over time, reorganising over a couple of years, just the systems in the back alone take 2 years to bring together, let alone the people. So I could never say, look, the same number of posts will be here in North Devon that exist right now, but there may be people that live in North Devon that are working from home that are in the corporate services, because things change too about where they work from. You probably know this, but about 14% of people work solely from home in our region right now, do all sorts of jobs. They never go into an office, or maybe once a month. So I think things like that will be very interesting to watch. And of course, no one, and John wouldn't guarantee jobs for everybody in the future. You know, nobody would. But all I can say is the intention is to expand the provision, lift it. What I see in Exeter College for their corporate services, how they operate, I don't think we're certainly not going to see a landslide of job cuts in this region. That's not the intention. 12 months ago, I would have said a different thing, because the college was in a financial difficulty. But we go in as two strong financially strong colleges, not one weak and one strong, which immediately takes that pressure off. So just to finish on that, the 3-year forecast is very strong for the group together. So there is no basis for the next 3 years to go into swinging cuts. These are simply about how do you consolidate for the future and bring your corporate services together more than let's make savings. I hope that helps. Was there anything else I missed? Just it was HE. Yes, sorry, travel subsidies. I knew there was something else. So travel subsidies, at the moment, both of us, colleges, and when we come together, we'll have one approach to this. We set the bursary rate for 16 to 18-year-olds getting free travel at £55,000 for the family. So that means if they earn under £55,000 as a household income, they don't pay anything for travel. That's how high we had to set the threshold. It used to be 30, but the costs of travel are so high now, as you probably know. Some of our students are paying upwards of £1,000 to come to college for the year. That's not doable. So we have to fully subsidise that, and we have bursaries that can do that, and that's why we had to lift the threshold, and it may even go higher, believe it or not, because simply a household, they cannot afford that travel subsidy, that cost of travel for someone to go to college. So I think that will just continue to rise. Actually, we will have to subsidise more and more. So I hope that helps. I think we subsidise everybody who needs it at the moment, and nobody is not able to come to college for that reason.
Councillor Jones.
Yeah, Kurt, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us. I'm the councillor for Witheridge, so I'm the south of the region, so we aren't necessarily served here. We're served by Petroc Tiverton. I'm also, as you're aware, associated with a big employer in Tiverton. And one of the things that we've seen that's been devastating in the change of Petroc is the move away from A-levels provision. 2 members of my team told me that if they couldn't have done A-levels in Tiverton, they probably wouldn't, because for some it's a real challenge to get on a bus and travel. And we see in Witheridge, we have a failing bus service. Feels like it's improved a little bit, but we have real challenges. Youngsters get left on the side of the road. It takes literally hours and hours. So I feel I know the answer, but I'm hoping you're going to tell me that we're going to improve the provision Petroc in Tiverton, and all those youngsters only have to travel 10 minutes down the road to get a fantastic education.
I don't think I can give you the answer that you'd like to hear. And I know we've had this conversation and I've had it with many, and I've been really straight since I've been here. I think for too long we've said, well, we'll think about that. It never made sense. It hasn't made sense for 15 years, as far as I can see, of having a sixth form provision in Tiverton. Financially, there just would never be enough students to do it. And in fact, I even went to Tiverton High School and said, hey, look, if you want to run a sixth form provision, come and have the rooms for free. They're empty. Use them, do it yourself. You know what they said? Doesn't make financial sense, can't do it. So it is pretty clear about what we can and can't do there. So what we're doing, and I didn't mean to leave Tiverton out tonight, but I thought with the audience that I wouldn't cover Tiverton, but I will. Because Tiverton, the intention, and certainly since I came here, I took a really close look at it and I spent some time. One of those things I didn't rush into because I recognised how much of support it had for a sixth form and all of the, if you like, the retrenching that had happened over time, and probably mixed messaging, to be honest, of the college leadership team had given, and opportunities and chances to revitalise that had been successful. So we took a really good look at it and we recognised that what it needs there is a really strong SEND provision, which it has, and a safety net for those who, as you say, may not make it down to the closest provision, which often for many people is Exeter College just down the road. Now, that safety net is at level 1, and for anybody who falls out and doesn't go neat, to prevent them from going out of education or employment, we've got a safety net there. And that's a provision to look after those people and reintegrate them back in when they're ready. And it's called H2O. It's really well received. It's home to on-site. It's supporting people back into education, and it's being renamed as the Centre for Progression. We've done the safety valve funding that we got from DCC, which we're very lucky to get, £1.5 million. And we've consolidated down to one building at Tiverton, and it's been fully refurbished and it's just been finished. And I hope that you'll, if you're local, join us at the opening in probably the spring, knowing the weather at the moment. But we'll open it in the spring formally. It's beautiful. It has 3 or 4 floors. It holds all of our SEND provision and anything else we do there, which is relatively small. I think it'd be my view that it's transport is the issue, actually, not so much the provision. So how do we fix that? That would be where I would be going next. And that would be a conversation I think you should have early on with John Laramie, CEO, because he's open to that, to say, so what could that look like? Do we put bus services on? Do we change things in order to give access to people for transport rather than trying to put provision in that will actually never be successful because of the numbers? I know it's not what you wanted to hear, and many don't want to hear, but I'm trying to be straight, to be honest.
Councillor Clayton.
Was good pass, but I will ask. First of all, a big personal thank you to you for everything you've done for this college, because I think reputationally it is on the up. And I think a lot of that is down to you, so well done for that. My question really comes from a resident who approached me about this, who was concerned. I think you've reassured me tonight, but he was concerned, and I refer to 10-year vision, because his concern was this place and provision in North Devon would just become the vocational arm, and Exeter would come out of all this as the academic side. From what you've said tonight, you don't think that will be the case, and you would hope to see in 10 years' time places in the north, this college offering both an academic route and a vocational route, and that would be on the same basis as Exeter. You don't see it being one or the other in that line. So you're nodding, so you don't have to give me anything answer. I wanted just reassurance on that, and that sounds good. Because people were a bit concerned, I think, about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you saw one of the very first slides I said, great tertiary colleges at both Exeter and North Devon, place-based provision, both academic and vocational, some very unique specialisations, but a small number. So yes, the intention is to bring this college back up to 3,000 16 to 18-year-olds from 2,200 now. Expand, that means more coming to A-level provision here. It's already 300, we want that to be closer to 500. So absolutely. It would never be a good idea to try to have people travel up and down to go to either academic or vocational. I think that would be absolutely crazy, and that's not the intention.
Councillor Ricky Knight.
Yes, hello. Mr. Hints, is it or Hanks? Hints. Thank you for your presentation. I join with all my colleagues in saying it's quite remarkable resuscitation of this college, because in 1 year to turn it around like that from the bottom 5 to the top half, as it were, is well, laudable. I'm a retired teacher from a secondary school which provided a fifth form, and A-levels came up here. I don't suppose you can talk about put your finger on what it was that led to the decline, the quality and the morale of this. Was it the morale of the staff? Was it the curriculum? Or, as I've always thought, is it the quality of the presentations that Exeter College brought into the secondary schools in North Devon? And the reason I say that is because there are 2 other sixth form colleges in North Devon, that's Bideford and Ilfracombe, and I worry about what's going to happen to them if this becomes, as I hope it does, becomes a beacon and attracts more or less all sixth form students. There's a bit of a problem there. Competition is sometimes good, but I know what the Exeter College's presentations selling themselves. That's what led to trainloads, going off to Exeter, hoisted by their own petard. Anyway, I concur. Fantastic work from you, sir.
Thank you. I mean, just to hit the point of, so what has this made the difference here? Well, it's just do the basics and do them really, really well. Good colleges. I mean, this when you look at the college base, the 16 to 18 proportion, you look at the fact that it has very little debt, you look at the fantastic quality of staff, it really just focusing back on the basics. Unfortunately, I think the leadership team had lost focus on the lens on the student. The lens had become on everything else but the student, and really just focusing back on the basic needs. The basics, do them really well. We've done nothing more than that. And if you do that really, really well in the college does well. And there you go. So colleges are like speedboats. They can turn on a dime, because most of our courses are just 1 year. So you can really do things really well in a year. As opposed to universities, perhaps 3-year courses, it takes a little longer to turn. So I think that that's really the basics of what it was about. From a point of view of, I think this is about moving students back from Exeter to here. So I wouldn't expect that it would affect the 2 local sixth forms, and you wouldn't want that. You need a healthy sixth form provision in the region, and those 2 local sixth forms are important, and I wouldn't expect that they would impact them at all. There are probably many students who are heading the wrong direction, not to Exeter, but even over to Taunton and Bridgewater, which you probably would be better set to come this direction again in the future. So I think that's certainly where we saw in Exeter, not only down to Exeter, but that direction as well. And there are probably quite a few people who chose not to go in the end and just said, you know what, I won't go to sixth form, when they really genuinely could. So I think there's also an unmet need of people who are potentially not going on to post 16, which really probably should and could.
Councillor Biedermann.
I just wanted to come back on following up from Councillor Jones. Actually, I think just shows, doesn't it, Chair, that the state that we must be in as a country, given the growth that we've seen in house building in all the areas we're talking about, but particularly in Tiverton around, and we can't now sustain a further education college at Tiverton, and we've all declared a climate emergency, and what we're effectively saying is we're going to have to bus, and parents are going to have to ferry children here, then everywhere to get education. I just don't see the sense of it myself. I think it's disappointing, to be honest, that a town the size of Tiverton, haven't got sixth form provision. I think that probably is successive governments supposed to yourself that's to blame for that. But I want to say it anyway. I think it's disappointing, really. I think it's, like I say, Witheridge is almost left behind community because there is no reliable public transport. And the college don't, effectively all those that get to 16 have said, we're shut. There's nowhere to go. So really disappointed. So I just want to support that. And I think we really need to, it's something that I know that the MPs mentioned before, and I think it's something we as a council or, LGR will present an opportunity, but we definitely need to be linked. If we're going to grow these communities, we need to link them. Thank you.
Councillor Rotty. Okay, and Councillor York.
Thank you. You mentioned the Centre for Progression in Tiverton. Obviously, it's a centre for SEN. And obviously here in Barnstaple, we have the inclusion and high needs team, got the Centre and H2O. In fact, my son is on H2O here. Can you reassure myself and other parents who've got SEN children that they're not going to be carted off to Tiverton and they're going to maintain an excellent centre here as well?
Exactly that. Exactly. That was one of the questions that came up in the consultation, which we gave immediate feedback, because there was a worry that we would be saying, well, Tiverton is the centre for that. No, we also put £1 million of safety valve into this location and completely refurbished the block for SEND and H2O Year 2. So I think it's that whole point about location based where it best suits the learner. And I appreciate that Tiverton, we're just not really servicing people who would like a sixth form there. But ultimately SEND provision where it's needed. So Tiverton, Exeter, and up here in North Devon. Sorry? Unfortunately.
And Councillor Bell.
Thank you very much. You've mentioned a couple of times about for many people, they have very busy lives and they don't need or want or be able to travel all the way up and down to Exeter for courses. One of the provisions that comes from Petrock and is excellent is the University of Greater Manchester, formerly University of Bolton, providing nursing students. When people are asking for reassurance, obviously that's an arrangement that goes on between the University of Greater Manchester and Petrock at the moment. They have increased student numbers going through, and they are bringing through excellent nurses, as well as Exeter and Plymouth. They also do good nurses too, but no bias. But do we have a reassurance that the nurse training provided by the University of Greater Manchester will continue after this merger?
Yes, so all of the current contracts that we have in place right now novate straight across into the group. So Petrock as an entity dissolves into Exeter College. It's renamed as Exeter and North Devon College Group, and all of those continue.
Is there a reassurance that that will continue into the future? Because this is a really before before the University of Bolton came about and started providing, there were young people who were not travelling to Exeter to do a nursing, to take a career in nursing, because a career in nursing is not well paid. It's not always worth it. It's excellent. But, you know, for many people, having the provision here in Petrock has been a real game changer, and it's certainly provided more nurses who train in North Devon and then stay in North Devon, and that's been fantastic. So really, obviously, it will never get across, but is there a reassurance that it will continue at least for the foreseeable future, you know, going through 7 more years?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see any basis for not continuing it, and that would certainly not be an area that you would say we need to only have one provision because it makes sense numbers wise. Dentistry, it could never operate to, and you can probably understand that. You might have 3 or 4 students up here and half a dozen in Exeter. You can never make it work. So together it has maybe 10, and that's great. That'll work. For nursing, it's really important here for the local hospital. It has good numbers, as you say. There's no basis for breaking up that relationship, for damaging in any way. And John, I don't know, many people know John. He's sensible, very sensible. He lived in North Devon for many years. He actually worked in the college for many years. So in fact, when he walks around the site, he knows many of the staff too. So certainly I'm very confident in John and his decision making and his team's decision making. I don't think he'll have those issues. And if there were any, I think if you raise them immediately with John, he would look at them very carefully. But I can't see any basis for cutting a provision like that. As in any of our provisions that we have with partners, actually, there's no basis. They are there now because I saw them as viable and I've kept them. You know, that's the reality. If they weren't, they would have already been gone because we had to make some really tough decisions in the last 12 months. And I think I made pretty much all of them.
Thank you very much. That was most informative. Yeah, thank you for all the interesting questions as well. Oh, sorry, Councillor Tobbs.
Thank you. It's nice to see a bit called North Devon College again, because I never liked Petrock. But like Ricky, who taught me, and I now teach in a room that he used to teach me in, I've written down loads of things to become a teacher. Most of them have been covered. Things about increases to provision, and then it's all being brought in line with Exeter. That's really commendable. And this question, I'm sure, will be the same answer, but historically, entrance requirements have been lower here than they have been in Exeter. Presumably, they'd be coming in line with.
Yeah, if you look at our website, it's already been matched.
Okay, brilliant. And then it was just a really sort of 2 minor things, really. I noticed on the timetable of the merger, the point of no return was the 9th of December for North Devon College, but it was the 12th for Exeter College. I just wondered, you know, it all sounds a formality, but why that difference and what happens if something does go wrong in those intervening 3 days? And then just a point on the Tiverton stuff, just sort of with my NEU rep hat on, there's been a lot of controversy in the Devon reps group recently about the use of AI robots coming into classrooms and sort of filming things. But is there the possibility that something like that could be used to remotely deliver provision to students who can't get in and out of Tiverton as a potential, you know, obviously that's not necessarily something for you to answer as someone who's leaving the scene, but is that something that might be considered?
Start with that one, actually. It's an interesting one. I do a lot on AI, actually, and you might have a look on YouTube or anything else. I've been sort of commenting on that in the last 2 years. Not that I know a great deal about it, but it's just been very interesting change in topics. So I think there's great opportunities. And I mentioned higher education and the move to online because of the quality of and capability of what's possible. So everything's possible. Absolutely. There's no reason why you couldn't effectively do sort of distance learning type provision in that way. But I would say that for 16 to 18s, it's shown to be one of the most ineffective means. Anybody knows that students are struggling in North Devon that have been put onto online programs are actually in high road causing behavioural problems. So I'm not sure that will be mainstream, but certainly in unique cases, that sort of stuff is growing in capability and capacity. So, you know, we'll watch this space really on that. On this, the procedural bit, 9th is our board meeting, 12th is theirs. So that's the only basis for it. So we both have to ratify, of course. Everything's positive. If either one of the boards said, you know what, we just changed our mind for whatever reason, and I can't imagine that because both colleges boards were unanimous in their vote they already had, so unanimous. There was nobody that opposed any of those boards. So I think that's a good starting point. But if it did, it would just be business as usual for us. We would be sad. It would be unfortunate. We have a 3-year plan which takes us into good finance and remains in good financial health. I won't be here sadly. I actually do leave on the 4th of January is my last day here, so I will be concluding. But so that would just be a change.
You get a job with LGR then?
I'm actually heading to Heverton South Downs College in Portsmouth, so that's where you'll see it. I'll be still around the region, I guess, but that's where I'm heading to next.
As I can't see any more hands up, can we move on to item 13, questions by members? Sorry, item 12, report of the leaders. Sorry, David. Okay. Do we have any questions for Councillor Clayton? No, Councillor Clayton.
I'll take it mostly as read because I know we're conscious of the time. But I would like to just say again, reiterate my thanks. Everybody who participated in the peer review session, it went very well. The interim report was very good. We haven't had the full report back yet, but we are anticipating there will be something said about the role of lead members and the way that lead members fit into our system. So once we've got LGR out of the way at the end of November, I'll ask Ken to call a meeting of all the lead members, himself and myself, and Councillor Lever as deputy leader, just to sort of discuss where we are and the way forward, the future perhaps, and hopefully we'll have had the report by then, maybe not, but at least we're on the front foot. So if any members wants to send Ken or myself any points that they think would be useful for such a meeting, not on personalities or anything like that, but just on how they think it's working with the lead members. I think it's better than it was perhaps 12 months ago. We have the lead members reports, we have better scrutiny now, arrangements, and they can go to scrutiny committees. But there are other ways in which perhaps they don't fit in, their portfolios don't fit in with the actual key objectives of the council, and maybe there's work to be done along that. So, in a positive way, if you've got any ideas or any comments that you want to do, then please email myself or Ken, and we'll take those into consideration. But the rest of the report is read, and happy to answer any questions. Thanks, Chair.
Do we have any questions for Councillor Clayton? Councillor Jones, thank you.
You'll be aware that there's upcoming changes to waste collection, and we had a good conversation about it in policy. Understandably, the service is becoming unviable because of the changes, but we serve about a third of businesses in North Devon. The available provisions are limited, particularly for those in rural areas. I've actually had people on the phone crying to me that they haven't actually been able to find services when things have changed. So I just want to seek your assurance that if we do make the decision to end that service, that we will make sure that we review the impact of that, and that we'll consult our customers to find out what the real impact of that will be. That we will also serve reasonable notice, because in some areas there is not an alternative provision, so that we will not just give people 2 months and leave them, because I think that will be a real impact on local business in our area. And also want to seek assurance that we will find an alternative supplier, so we don't leave people in the lurch. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Yeah, it's an issue that's worth highlighting. It is coming to SNR, as you know. We were discussing this today. I can give you assurance that we will help out. I can't assure you that we will find alternatives, because I don't know what the full situation is there, and we will, Sorry?
It's all right, David. Councillor Craig, carry on.
All right, sure. What else did you say?
Reasonable notice.
Yeah. I mean, I know in Torres there's no trade waste, and we've asked that the officers find out just what the full situation is across the whole of Devon. That's for SNR on the 1st of December, which you'd be very welcome to come along and contribute to if you wanted to bring up. I know that in some of the rural areas this could well be a problem, but there's no denying the fact that at the moment it's going to get larger. It's the whole service is facing a big financial problem. And of course, when the new regulations come in regarding food waste, we won't be able to collect that from them anyway. So we will help to investigate and look into all the possibilities. We're not just going to suddenly say, that's it. We have said today that we're going to try and get an email and telephone consultation with a small representative sample of the kind of the businesses, just to see what the situation is and what else is available out there. So that is one thing that we can do. I can't give any absolute assurances until we've discussed it at SNR and found out the full details, but I can certainly invite I do invite you, Councillor Jones, to come to that and bring up any concerns you have. But we're going to make a decision one way or another, hopefully on the 1st of December, and we'll have more knowledge available to us. Is that correct? Then we discussed this today, didn't we? I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that.
It is correct. The reason I was looking to stand up earlier was that the items relating to waste and recycling are not on the agenda tonight. So we should only be discussing items that are on the agenda. And although it's a question to the leader's report doesn't actually refer to waste and recycling.
Thank you. If we could try and stick to what is on the agenda, because it is going to be it's a long evening tonight. Yes, but it's not on the agenda and it is on strategy and resources. So please come along to strategy and resources if you can, at least online. If you can't come in person, you will be allowed to speak. Thank you. Item 13, questions by members. We have none. So we move on to item 14, lead members report. The report by lead member for regeneration, economic development and planning, which is attached. Councillor Prowse, do you want to say anything?
It's probably says no, it's not. Chair, I won't keep you long. It's just a couple of updates that I just wanted to report to members that have sort of come about since I wrote the report. No, councillor, and I didn't use AI. If I did, it would have said I'm mad to trying to take this job on, I should think. Can I just mention a couple of things? One of them is about the local plan. And since this report was written, the government have, of course, announced that, that they will not now be having mandatory DM policies. So there's a lot of work that our team are going to have to do, because we're going to have those localised policies still, which I welcome, because I think distinctiveness is really important to be recognised in a local plan. The other thing is, and I know Councillor Coombs, sorry, made this point, and I do think over the last 18 months, we've had this sort of habit of people saying, well, the local plan's nothing to do with me, it's not my local plan. Last week, we had a most fantastic workshop facilitated by UCL that was paid for actually by a grant that was achieved through the Biosphere. And it showed what members can do and what progress we can make if members do get involved. That working group was on economy and skills. Similarly, earlier in the year, there was the workshop that would work within well-being and health. And I think the members found that really useful as well. We get too hung up with structures and memberships and things, but we've got these 4 working groups. If people are interested, as far as I'm concerned, as chairman of the Joint Committee with Torridge, if people are interested and want to come along, please do. Because that sort of process is what makes the local plan, makes ownership of it, and makes it relevant to North Devon.
rather than just us geeky people that are interested in planning for its own sake. So I wanted to mention that. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that the timetable will be kicking off soon. Government have assured us, and it will be a pretty hectic 18 months or 2 years. How important it is, because this is our last chance really to have our own local plan. Because whatever happens with LGR, it'll be a bigger plan, won't it? So let's make sure we get everything right in this one, so it becomes a continuation with whatever the authority is after. The other thing I wanted to mention to say thank you. I mean, I've said it in here, and I said it in my last report. I'm really lucky to have a fantastic team. Last week, I couldn't go at the last minute, but I know Peter Jones was there, not as councillor, but as Peter Jones. A fantastic day, really well done, about defence industry and the opportunities for North Devon up here. We are doing a huge amount within that the economic field that people and members don't see from day to day. But can I just say to Ken and to SJ to say thank you to all the people that organised that and the workshop. But if anybody wants to get involved in the local plan, give me a shout or give the officers a shout. There's always a place for you somewhere in one of those groups. So please come along and be part of the process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. Councillor David Knight.
Thank you. Councillor Prowse, I welcome your lead member's report, extremely thorough. But as lead member for Regeneration, Economic Development and Planning and the chair of the Joint Local Plan, it's quite apt tonight. There was a few members who are late. Roundswell is the centre of repeated traffic issues, and for the purpose of looking at economic development in the area and the well-being of residents in North Devon, we as a council need to do our utmost to identify if there's any amendments or additions to the local plan that could or would alleviate the traffic situation. Looking at the schedule, it's not really clear at what point officers will liaise with ward members and look at issues in their individual wards. Thank you.
Can I just check that works or not? No, I'll share. What is it? I'm red. I'm colourblind. That is it. It's working now. Can I just say to Council tonight, our problem has been that we've been able to carry out various studies behind the scenes, like housing need and housing numbers, and trying to look for new sites. But we're waiting for the government to actually do the secondary legislation that they promised before Christmas. So that is then in early in the new year. Those are the sorts of workshops we'll be doing, talking about localized issues and practical things. At the moment, we're just dealing with the theme. So point taken, and as soon as Christmas is out of the way, we should have the legislation in place and we'll get on with the job.
Councillor House Booth.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Councillor Prowse for a really encouraging report. And I thank him in particular, in my role as chair of the Advisory Council of the Museum, for his very kind words about the Northern Devon Innovates exhibition at the museum. And I want to thank all those councillors who came along and county councillors who made the opening a really special occasion. And it was a great example of what I think we call councillor engagement. So there were very fine speeches by Peter Morrish, the chair of Northern Devon Futures, and by the Mayor of Barnstaple, and they will be writing articles about favourite objects in the exhibition, which will be appearing in the North Devon Journal from tomorrow. So I hope you'll look out for those. And I just want to finish by saying there's one slight mistake in Councillor Prowse's report, which is that the exhibition is now going to be extended until the end of January to the 24th of January. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Prowse. Sorry, Councillor Clayton.
Councillor Prowse has done to this. That's what I think now. Yeah. Just big thank you to Councillor Prowse for his report. Excellent full and obviously written by yourself, so that's really good to see as well. I'm a bit disappointed actually that Councillor Howard Proof didn't put him on the spot like he put me on the spot to say what his favourite exhibition piece was, but as obviously that's something to the independence to sort out in the future. Thanks, Councillor Price.
Thank you. Sorry. Councillor Knight, did you have a question?
No, a statement, ma'am. Oh, who's turned it on?
I like this bit because it's a bit like the House of Commons when you get a sycophantic question from a friend. I put it to the honourable member, but this is a great report, and I wanted to be the one to praise him because it's the items on cultural heritage and regeneration are just top AI in my opinion. His reference to the team. And of course, welcome to Michael Gillespie and Hannah Stokes. That's great. They were part of this team. I need to say on behalf of all of us that we all stand on the shoulders of fantastic officer support. And I think that underlines his behaviour report really. But thank you, Malcolm, Councillor Price, for an excellent report. You set the bar too high. I think I'm next. Yeah.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you very much. Just regarding the local plan again. Sorry, just going back to that. Obviously, we have got new. We've got vulnerable autistic adults with aging parents. We've got people wanting to build their own homes. There are a lot of things that the new local plan will represent, and I think it will do it very well when the government finally get around to doing what they need to do. How quickly? Because there are areas that we really want to be responsible for. You're giving us 18 months. Is that a good deadline? Yeah.
Really impressive. Thank you, Graham. Councillor Bell. The government guidelines are pretty tough anyway. And if we miss that guideline, it'll mean that we won't be making the decision here in North Devon. So as far as I'm concerned, while I'm doing this job, I should be pushing the process as quick as possible and with member involvement at the front end, so we don't have any hiccups later on and no big surprises. So I think the answer to Graham, to Councillor Bell, to that question is please get involved. I know you are already because you've been part of the JPPC. So please get involved, bring those issues now, and if anybody's got any ideas, put them on paper, bring them along. The doors are always open. That exercise that Becky and I enjoyed last week, sorry, Councillor Combs and I enjoyed last week, shows what impact members can make on all sorts of issues. We'll be staging, we need to get some more funding for them, Ken. Well, John's gone. No, he's over there. We need some funding to help those workshops to continue in some form, or get some external funding to make sure that they can spread out for all members. But yeah, as long as I'm here, doing this job, we will meet those targets, and we'll get out with a public consultation as quickly as we can next year.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 15, the financial management report, Q2 2025 to 26.
Members, item 15 obviously has previously already gone through strategy and resources and scrutiny and policy development. So you're pleased I'm not going to take you through the report. It's a positive report. There is a forecast net budget surplus for the current financial year. So first of all, just pass over to members if they've got any questions first before we go over to the chairs of each of those two committees.
Councillor Beedham.
Yeah, to take an emergency.
Councillor Jones, could you move the policy scrutiny and development minutes, please?
Can I move the reports policy?
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Clayton. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Councillor Clayton, could you move the strategy? You, seconder. Councillor Wilkinson, and all those in favour. Thank you. Item 16, mid-year Treasury Management Report. Back to you, John.
Yeah. Members, again, similar, this report has gone through both strategy and resources and scrutiny. So if there's any questions, happy to take those first. If there's no questions, we'll pass over to Councillor Jones from Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee.
Yeah, can I move the report for Scrutiny and Policy Committee held on the 13th of November?
You can have a seconder, please. Councillor Caroline Lever. All those in favour? Thank you. And Councillor Clayton. Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Crabb. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 17, Statement of Accounts 2024-25, and we have to take these as 3 separate items.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I'm going to take you through the statement of accounts. You'll see there are about 100 pages. I'm not going to take you through each page. Please note, I will refer to certain agenda page numbers, though they're at the centre at the bottom of your agenda pack, and we're starting on page 69. The accounts in front of you are the draft statement of accounts for the last financial year ended 31st of March 25. They were initially signed by myself as a true and fair view of the organisation's financial position on the 19th of June. The statement of accounts in front of you this evening are now post-audit with a recommendation for approval and to be formally signed and adopted by this council. The statement of accounts starts on page 71 of your pack. The statutory backstop date for all statement of accounts to be signed off for the 24-25 year is the 27th of February 26. We're aiming for formal sign off by the end of November, following tonight's full council approval of the financial statements. The external audit of the accounts has recently taken place by our external auditors, Bishop Fleming, and the majority of the audit financial statements took place through August and September. There are still a couple of areas still to be finalised, and they were reported to Governance Committee last week. The audit completion report went to Governance Committee on the 11th of November, and that reported an unqualified opinion on the financial statements, which is a good opinion. That's what you're looking for. There were two recommendations, one medium recommendation and one low recommendation. That compares to 4 this time last year. Those recommendations have been accepted by management and have been embedded within the action plan for completion this year. The second report the auditors produced was an annual audit report, which is on the value for money of the authority. And I'm pleased to report that they concluded we have proper arrangements in place to secure the economic, efficient and effective use of our resources. And again, that report was signed off by Governance Committee last week. So the accounts are in front of you this evening to be formally signed off. The narrative report sets out the first sort of 10 pages of the accounts. That starts on page 72. And that sets out really the challenges we face as an organisation, how we aim to meet those challenges, and also a review of the last financial year. The review of the last financial year starts on page 75. That sets out the Q3 position, where we're reporting a small net budget surplus of 9,000 at this time last year in December. Pleased to report that the last quarter saw some favourable variances, most notably some additional income through business rates, and the final outturn position achieves a net surplus of 322,000. The table on page 76 details those variances for you. The options for that 322,000 surplus was to propose to Strategy and Resources Committee to contribute the following amounts to earmarked reserves: 140,000 into the Repairs Fund Reserve, that was to provide for capital funding bids that were coming through in that quarter, £100,000 into the Strategic Contingency Reserve, and that was to earmark funds for the future funding of the Street Marshal schemes that Strategy and Resources approved recently. And then finally £82,000 back into the Budget Management Reserve, that was to replenish the reserve and also help to mitigate financial pressures if there were any coming forwards in the existing financial year. The financial narrative statement also sets out the position on Green Lane Shopping Centre. You'll recall the previous financial positions that are set out within the report, most notably 21-22 onwards. We've been returning a net surplus to the authority of around £200,000 a year. That continued in 24-25 with a net return of 196,000. and that's still producing a positive return for the council in line with our original forecasting. Moving on to our earmarked reserves, 31st of March 25, the general fund reserve had a balance of £1.2 million. That's shown in the movement in reserve statement on page 92 of your accounts. The movement in earmarked reserves is also shown here with a year-end balance of £8.2 million. Details of those reserves can be seen in note 11 on pages 128 to 130. Those balances leave the council in a strong position to deal with the financial challenges and risks it faces into this current financial year 25-26 and into the following financial years 26-27 onwards. It's therefore positive for the council at the 31st of March to be placing monies into those earmarked reserves at the end of the financial year, especially bearing in mind the inflationary pressures we faced in previous financial years that were already baked into that 24-25 financial position. The medium-term financial strategy that you approved at your budget setting meeting in February just sets out the table that set out the budget gaps. That's also shown within the narrative statement of financial accounts, because as well as being backward looking for last financial year, it's also setting out the financial position this council faces moving forwards. That medium-term financial position will be refreshed as we move forwards over the next couple of months. The fair funding review outcome is due imminently. The finance policy, the finance settlement statement, the policy statement is being announced tomorrow. So that will give some high-level indications about what to expect within the finance settlement that is due the week commencing the 15th of December. So in light of that, we'll be refreshing the medium-term financial figures, and that will be presented to members as part of the budget setting in February. But we will make sure we have a budget workshop in advance of that to update you on the finance settlement detail when that's announced. The main statements within your account start on page 246, and that sets out the income and expenditure statements. It also sets out the movement and reserve statements, and that sets out your usable reserves and also your unusable reserves, and breakdowns of those figures are also contained within the disclosure notes later in the accounts. The balance sheet for the authority, which shows the financial strength, is set out on page 93. The net assets of the authority are 129 million. That's a 5 million increase from the previous financial year 23-24. The main movements for that £5 million is that long-term assets increased by 18 million. That follows capital investment on things such as the Future High Streets Fund, where we've spent significant capital sums on Bouport Street. It also includes spend on temporary accommodation, where we've acquired further houses, and also finance lease additions for our vehicle fleet and waste and recycling. Revaluation increases of £3 million on our wider asset base. Current liabilities have increased by £4 million, that main movement being £3 million of short-term borrowing. And also our long-term liabilities increased by 8 million, again, further long-term borrowing of £6 million in line with our capital strategy and our treasury management forecasts. And also finance lease liability increasing by £3 million for those further vehicle acquisitions. The remaining financial statements are your cash flow statement that details how the council generates and uses its cash and cash equivalents, and the collection fund statements on page 95 and 96 just sets out as the billing authority how much we collect and bill in business rates and council tax, and how the respective shares are then allocated across the major preceptors and central government. A large chunk of the accounts then is broken down into the accounting policies. They're on pages 97 to 116. That sets out the rules and concepts in how we've prepared the financial statements for your consideration. The only real change for 24-25 was the adoption of something called IFRS 16, which relates to finance leases. And the new accounting standard requires the right to using items that we acquire through finance leases to be shown clearly on the balance sheet, together with a liability for those payments to be made for any acquisitions coming through that lease. We then have a number of disclosure notes for about 50 pages on pages 117 to 166. That just breaks the figures down in a bit more detail. And then the final piece of the accounts is the draft auditor's report, which sets out the draft opinion that the financial statements give you a true and fair view of the financial position of the authority at the 31st of March 25. Following formal sign-off this evening, the auditors will then conclude their audit of the council, and they'll issue their formal opinion, which will then mean we can publish the accounts on the website as being concluded well in advance of the backstop date. So, Chair, I'll conclude there. The recommendations are on page 69, 2.1, and that's the statement of accounts for 24-25 be approved, and that the chairman of the council sign and date the accounts as required by the Accounts and Audit Regulations 2015. Chair.
Do I have any questions to start off with? Councillor Caroline Lever. No. I'm broke.
Thank you. I think somehow it's been positioned differently than normal, so we can't see you
We
at
have
all.
different tables.
Sorry?
We have different tables.
I think it's more to do with placing of the tables, because if we can't see you, you can't see us. Thank you ever so much for that, John, and all the work that's gone into this. And actually, maybe it's just because I've been a councillor for it seems like quite a long time. I even understand everything you say. So that's a movement on them. When I started, I can tell you. I think really what I wanted to just ask a question about is the table on page 74, which sets out the forecasted cumulative budget gap. It would be nice to have a surplus for the coming years, which I know you've brought to our attention on a number of occasions, but actually the financial position is looking worse year after year after year. And I was thinking about the zero increase in core spending power this year on the previous year. Have you had any indications at all whether government might possibly think about funding district councils, particularly rural district councils like ours, in a way which recognises those additional costs of providing services in rural areas? Because this is looking quite scary to me. Thank you.
So these figures were produced this time last year. Obviously, that was well in advance of the Fair Funding Review consultation that came out. The outcomes from that will come forward as part of the settlement next month. The finance policy statement will obviously be announced tomorrow, so that will have some high-level indications. So that will give us a clearer idea in terms of the thinking behind how settlements will be allocated to councils. So we haven't seen any detailed allocations yet. When we did the medium-term financial figures, we were quite prudent in terms of how much we felt was likely to be lost. So we hope that the settlement will be a bit kinder than that. We have received an increased allocation in extended producer income, which is to do with the income reimbursement for waste packaging that comes through that you'll recall I touched on in the budget. So that has seen an increased benefit. And also the revaluation of the pension fund contributions that I touched on before, that we were trying to challenge the actuary about reducing those due to better investment returns on the fund. That has seen a potential net reduction of about 3%. So again, that will improve these figures slightly as well. So there's a couple of things that have gone the right way, but we wait for the fair funding settlement to come out in terms of whether that improves that position or whether it is in line with our original forecast. So we'll have a bit more information after the policy statement tomorrow, and then we'll be refreshing these figures and bringing those to members in advance of the budget papers that you'll see in February.
Thank you. And Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair. Unlike Councillor Caroline Lever, I do not understand everything you say, John, but that is more to do with me than it is to do with you. And thank you very much for what you've done. I would like to point out the initial feedback from the peer review that did say that this council, it didn't say unlike many others, but that was the implication. This council, what did it say, manages its finances effectively. I'm sure they'll say a lot more than that, but we certainly do. And compared to many other councils, we are in such a good position due to your work and due to your team's work. So thank you for that on behalf of all the members. And can I then move do we have to move them individually or can we do them collectively? All
No, we need to move these individually.
Individually, okay. We'll start off with 17A. I'll propose those minutes. Someone second.
Please, Councillor Beaneman. All those in favour? Thank you.
And B,
So
the annual governance statement.
seconded, Councillor Bratty.
I just need to take you through 17B.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you'd done that.
Yeah. Sorry, Chair. I'll try and be as quick as I can. Councillor Jason.
No football match.
I don't understand that. Noted, move the.
Damaging the equipment. Thank you, Chair. This will be a slightly shorter item. Item 17B is your annual governance statement. That formally records the published arrangements we have in place to ensure that our functions are carried out effectively based on the core principles of the governance framework. Again, this has been through Governance Committee back in June. That includes the framework around the work of strategy and resources and full council in setting your budgets, strategies and corporate objectives, and also the work of the Governance Committee on risk management and reviewing audit reports. That's alongside the senior management team and also the corporate risk group that's in place. Our internal auditors, Devon Assurance Partnership, carried out 23 audits during 24-25, and their overall assessment was that we have generally sound system of governance, risk management and controls in place. As I've alluded to, the external auditors, Bishop Fleming, recently completed their value for money review and again concluded we have proper arrangements in place for those uses of resources. In connection to the governance review separately, they found no significant weaknesses in our arrangements, which is really positive for the authority. There were some areas we identified during our own assessment supported by findings of the peer review on governance carried out in February 25. They've been set out in Appendix B on pages 193 to 195 with the latest note on progress to date, and you'll see that a number of those have progressed quite significantly. The New Look annual governance statement that's in your papers this evening was approved by Governance Committee back in June. They've had some slight amendments that are in front of you this evening, only small amendments, but the recommendation in front of you, Chair, is on page 173, 2.1 to approve the annual governance statement as part of signing off the 24-25 financial statements. Happy to take any questions or pass straight to Councillor Clayton.
Thank you. Can I just say a big thank you for the changed format of the annual governance statement. It is much easier to read this way. Thank you. Councillor Clayton, would you like to move?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'll move B, please.
Councillor Hunt. Seconded by Councillor Hunt. All those in favour? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Item 17C members is the letter of representations, the final piece of the jigsaw for the audit process. This is a formal letter that you as the council are signing, and that responds back to the auditors, Bishop Fleming, confirming that the governance arrangements in place and also our authority's responsibilities on the financial statements presented. It sets out the disclosures that we've made to the auditors through the audit process, the estimated figures that we've included, and our basis for things such as valuations, and also that the authority is unaware of any further risks other than those disclosed within the financial statements. The letter, like the earlier items, has already been through Governance Committee last week, who are happy to approve the draft wording in the letter prior to full council this evening. And the letter is required as that final process for the approval of the statement of accounts. And therefore, the recommendation is that the letter approved by members and subsequently signed by both the chair and myself as Chief Financial Officer to then be returned back to the external auditors. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Any questions? Oh, no, Councillor Coates.
I'll move item C.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Quinn. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay, moving on to item 18, appointments to committees 2025-26. Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair. I'll do them individually, A, B and C. So can I move A as read?
Have a seconder for that, please. Councillor Beedman. All those in favour? Thank you.
And B as read.
Okay, can I have a seconder? Councillor Rutty. All those in favour? Thank you.
And C as read.
Okay, Councillor Bushell.
Sorry, it was D I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so item C, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Rutty, all those in favour? Thank you. Item D.
Yeah, item D, Joint Planning Policy Committee, to consider the appointment of Councillor David Knight to replace Councillor Bell on the Joint Planning Policy Committee for 2025-2026 municipal year.
Thank you. So, okay, moved by Councillor Clayton, seconded by Councillor Lever. I believe Councillor Bushell has something to say, then followed by Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I'd like to speak in support of Councillor Bell. I think he's done a great job. They hacked him. He's done a great job on the joint planning for this committee, and I believe that this is a purely party political move to punish him for standing up for his own values when he was backed into a corner. So I will not be supporting this, not against Councillor Knight, but because I believe that this is a political manoeuvre, and I'm not standing for it. I think people have to stand on their own values.
Chair, thank you. As usual, Councillor Bushell is massively misinformed. These are actual appointments that have been sorted by the group leaders. And it just happens that Councillor Bell is no longer a Liberal Democrat councillor on North Devon District Council. So therefore, there is one Liberal Democrat place to be replaced. You might want to try and make some kind of political capital out of that, but it's nothing to do with that. So please, before you start making mischief, get your facts correct.
Thank you, Councillor Clayton. Councillor Bushell, could you please? Yes.
If I can clarify, the leader is absolutely right that each year we allocate seats on committees according to the proportions that each political group has on the overall council. The seats were allocated in that way at the start of this municipal year and have been since. If a member moves from one group to another, then he doesn't take that seat with them, unfortunately. That seat becomes vacant and is then allocated in accordance with the group leader's wishes. And that's what we're doing tonight. So it's not a case of anything to do with the individual. It's to do with the fact that these seats are allocated to political groups. And it's for council's duty to allocate those seats in accordance with the political group leader's wishes.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, did you want to speak?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, as I don't belong to any group, I do understand what's being said here. However, given my background and my thoughts on planning and policy, I would like the opportunity to remain on as a group member of, well, the Building No Mates group, really. I recognise that's not actually a reason, but I would like to voice my desire to remain as a member of the Planning Policy Committee.
If I can clarify, if I can clarify that unfortunately, because Councillor Bell is not a member of a political group, there are no seats to allocate to Councillor Bell.
Okay, the motion has been, the seat has been nominated and seconded. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. So item 18D, 18E.
Yeah, to consider the appointment of Councillor June Williams to replace Councillor Bell on the Strategy and Resources Committee for the 2025-2026 municipal year. And the same rationale applies to this as it did for D.
Yeah. Councillor Caroline Lever. Thank you. Councillor Rutty, is that what you wanted to do as well? Yeah, thank you. So we have a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Thank you. Item 19 is the half-yearly report of the Chair of Governance Committee. Councillor Norman.
Yeah, can I take it as read? Is there any questions?
Thank you very much. Nice and clear report as normal. Thank you. Item 20, minutes of committees. If we can take these on block. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Clayton. So, can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Tops. Councillor Rutty is seconding. All those in favour? Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. I will now close the meeting. Thank you.